First responders, thank you for all that you do. I'm Garrett Martin of the Alberta First Responder Mortgage Program, a program I put together myself. After spending 8.5 years in law enforcement, I got my mortgage broker's license, and now I'm a proud sponsor of the Alberta First Responder Association and doing mortgages for first responders. No matter where you are in Canada, reach out. We're talking exclusive rate discounts, cashback offers, and guidance from someone who's been in your boots. I know the demands of the job, and I know how to make homeownership easier. Whether you're buying, renewing, or refinancing, I'll compare top lenders from across Canada to save you money. So visit garrettmartinmortgages.com or text me at 403-915-1025 and let's get to work for you. Thank you for your service.
Sirens, Slammers, and Service, a podcast for female first responders by female first responders. My name is Nikki and I will be your host. As a former correctional officer in Alberta for almost 2 decades and the founder of Blue Line Fitness Testing, which provides law enforcement fitness testing and first responder wellness workshops, I started this podcast as a way for female first responders to share the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of their daily work. I want to showcase the unique perspectives, skill sets, and personalities that women bring to a first responder career and share their stories. So get ready to laugh your ass off, learn a whole bunch, and be inspired by some pretty badass women. Let's go. Hey guys, we are back. Oh my gosh, you guys, it is a snowy, freezing cold day today here in Edmonton, but this episode is going to be hot, hot, hot. I am so excited about this episode. Today, I am joined all the way from Calgary with Robin Koltusky. Robin is a mounted patrol team lead with the Calgary Police Service. She's been with them for 10 years, and she is also the recent award winner of Civilian of the Year for 2025 from AWIPS, which we have our love for AWIPS. We love those girls. We love everybody that's part of that organization. And Robin is going to talk to us today about all of her work with the Mounted Patrol team. So welcome, Robin. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you, Nikki. This is very exciting.
I'm so excited about this episode because we kind of talked about it a little bit before we started recording. It's such a totally unheard of, unreally discussed kind of side of law enforcement, which is mounted patrol, and you being part of it for 10 years. What an incredible journey for you. So I want to dive right in. I want to learn everything I can about you. I know our listeners are going to love this episode. So tell me, how did you get started into this? What kind of drew you to this work? And what's it been like for the last 10 years?
That's a really big question. So what drove me to this career choice was my infinite passion of horses. I was born that way. And throughout my upbringing, I just wanted to be involved with them as much as I possibly could. Anytime I saw a horse, I'd run up and try and meet the horse and get to know it and try and ride it, because that's what I ultimately wanted to do my whole life. But I grew up in Calgary, so it was difficult to access them because I wasn't a farm girl or didn't really grow up around them. So it wasn't until I became an adult when I decided to go to, it was Fairview College. Nate was running a horsemanship program at the time, and I went up to Fairview, Alberta, and I took a program that taught me all about equine science and as well as horsemanship. That gave me a foundation through the Equestrian Canada rider levels in the Western discipline. So moving onward from that, my aspiration was to be a horse trainer, but because I'd only had a year or two in with a college program, I couldn't just go out into the industry and proclaim myself as a horse trainer because I didn't have all of the hours and the years that develop you as a good horseman. So I just went into the industry and got dirty, and I tried as many disciplines as I possibly could. I worked for a cutting horse trainer and helped him with his show horses with working cow horse in the Western world. And I dabbled in some dressage, and I took a year of show jumping, and I just really wanted to understand where my niche was. And I really was, it was primarily more Western focused, more Western riding. Those are the types of horses that I enjoyed riding, and the working with cattle and stuff was a lot of fun. So I geared myself more that way, but it still wasn't really hitting home with like, this is where I belong and such. And I didn't really have a tremendous amount of, support in the industry because I didn't have my own facility and I didn't have, my family hadn't been running with it and that I had been in a breeding program for a really long time and things like that. So it was a lot of work to get my name recognized in the horse industry, as well as building this resume of experience, right? So I can't even tell you how many times I've been bucked off a horse. It's numerous, lots. And I would even say it's safe to say that about probably 75% of everything I've known from the horse is based through mistakes. Those are the hardest lessons, but they stick. Like those losing lessons really, really help you learn. And I use those mistakes to build my repertoire almost to become better. So after about 10 years in the horse industry as an entrepreneur, within that time I had a lot of experience with starting horses, like starting colts that needed training, problem horses, helping people with their horses. So I started teaching people a lot more in their horsemanship, and it was just growing from there. And I was actually really doing well with my clientele and the horses that I was starting to work with. And then I found the city of Calgary had posted a job that they were looking for a horse trainer to help with their mounted patrol team in Calgary with the Calgary Police Service. I'd never ever thought I would ever be a part of a police or first responder career. Not that I hadn't been interested, I just never really thought about it, to be honest. And so, of course, I put my resume in, and there was over 100 applicants. And when I looked up the criteria, I noticed that it was pretty specific. Like they really wanted you to have 5+ years experience in dealing with, nuisance, like how to build confidence in horses, like specific horse training focuses. And then on top of it, they wanted the college education, of course. And even those two things in the horse industry is few and far between, because either you have the college, but then maybe you go on to do other things. I know in my program, there's a couple of us that are professional in the industry out of, the 10 girls I went to school. And there was one guy, sorry, it wasn't just all females, but the industry is predominantly female driven, especially at the college. And then, so I didn't really find that there was a lot of people who had been doing, like even that I knew, that had been training specifically colts and getting them, going through their issues and problems on top of having that college education. So I really felt quite confident I was going to be shortlisted, which I was. And so the 4 of us had our interviews and I was a successful applicant.
It's so cool to me to I love hearing how people kind of find these careers, because it's there's half of the people just fall into them like you did. Like it was sure, I'll throw my resume in, see what happens. Cool. And then the other half is this is my lifelong dream. I am 100%. This is what I'm going for. I want to be a paramedic. I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a police officer. So it's really cool to me that you had both. You loved lifelong dream, horses, working with horses, having it, and then just fell into the law enforcement side of things, put your resume in. And so I have a couple of questions. So what is it about horses? Is it their demeanor? Is it just knowledge about learning about horse behavior? What was it that drew you to horses originally?
Oh, that's a great question. I've always loved animals. So it started with animals, and I'd say horses specifically because of their majesticness. They're just so big and they're so, they look difficult and they just seem challenging that way. It's not just a pet. It's like a sport, so you can be competitive with them. I mean, you can be competitive with your dogs too, but I mean, you can ride them. And I think realistically, my child self would say absolutely, because I want to ride them. that's just fun. Like
Yeah.
I've always been a bit of an adrenaline junkie when it comes to that. Like, amusement park rides or anything exhilarating like that, I'm really interested in. So I would have to lean more towards because you can ride them for sure.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah. They are. They're incredible. I went to horse camp when I was growing up, and it was definitely one of my favorite parts of my summer was to go out, and I put my kids into it and they love it. And it's like, except that now they want to ride all the time. And I was like, we don't have money to be horse riding people. So you can put that dream on hold. But now I'm like, well, no, they can go to school and they can do this side of things and then they can still ride these horses. So, which kind of leads me into my next question. So the schooling, the formal education. So is it a 4-year degree? Is it like a diploma program? Like, where did you go to school for this?
That's another really good question. So there's very limited programs for this stuff. At the time, the colleges I was looking at were Fairview College, which was NAIT at the time, and Olds. Those are the agriculture colleges that we have in Alberta. And because we're such an agriculture province, I could see why they had that. Oh, sorry, I was wrong. They also, Lakeview College by Lloydminster also has, or Vermilion, also has a horse program. But it's a wait list to get into Olds, and they require certain grades and things. And for me, it expedited me to get into the college going to Fairview. It was also entertaining for me to think about the classroom sizes were going to be smaller to go to Fairview because not a lot of people are going up to that program. It's no longer in existence anymore. They actually closed the program after I finished my course. So now the only colleges, they're few and far between. I know Olds and Lakeland College still has their equine programs. The University of Guelph has a program. I can't tell you all of the programs in Canada. I'm not too sure, but I know that equestrian colleges programs are really few and far between. They're not really easy to find.
Yeah. And you said you had 10 people in your class or 11?
Yeah, actually, so there was two programs. One was horsemanship and one was horse training, which is technically the same thing. But like horse training is more like they had started colts, whereas horsemanship was just like advancing your training. So anyways, the horsemanship program had 5 students and the horse training program had 10 students. So total, there was 15 of us, but we rode different. Like we were like horsemanship rode in the morning and horse training was in the afternoon. So it was just a little bit of a different setup. But because of the low class numbers, the one-on-one time that I had was significant. Like I had a lot more time in the saddle. Mm-hmm. And that really drew me in because realistically, I was the greenest student. I was the oldest student. I was 23 years old at the time, where most of the attendees were, under the age of 20. Mm-hmm. And all of those girls had like lessons growing up, and I didn't have any lessons growing up. So I was brand new to riding. I'm surprised I even got accepted because of my riding video was so weak. Like it's a sport, right? So much like hockey, you'd have to practice and, develop. You can't just learn how to play hockey and then go, play some games. Like you have to understand all of the technical tricks to the trade. And that's the same with horsemanship. So I had a lot of learning and catching up to do compared to the other students in that program.
I think that's amazing though, because they probably saw your video and they were like, yes, this girl does need to come to school.
Yeah. I think that's probably why. Yeah. Well, and my coach, I'm very close with my instructor today. I still connect with her a lot. And she did tell me that she knew how passionate I was. Like we had an interview before I went to the college, and she could tell that my interest, my heart was in the right place. Like I'm serious. I want to be in the industry and I want to find a job with this, and I don't want to just be cleaning stalls.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those people are more valuable than anyone on the planet, or the labor horse people. But I really, really wanted to train, and be part of something that big, and work with the animals one-on-one.
Yeah, and that passion does show through, I think, when you find, like you said, what you are totally drawn to, that passion. And that passion can lead you, again, like you were saying, through 10 years of entrepreneurship, of grinding it out, of trying to find clients, of trying different things, trying different styles, like being the person that's mucking out the stalls. And we say this all the time on the podcast, and when I'm talking with people that are trying to get into a first responder career, is like, you're going to have to do the hard work. Like it's going to suck. Like it's not all going to be roses and sunshine and awesomeness. The recruiting process is challenging for a reason. Like we're putting you through the paces for a reason, because it's going to build resiliency. It's going to build that determination. It's going to build that discipline that you need when you get into the career, because that's what you're going to have to fall back on when the shit hits the fan. And so if you don't have that, where are you? What's going to happen to you? Right. And so I think that's super interesting that you did all that hard work, and you did come into it with little experience and not a name around you. Because I would assume too, in the horse world, it is a very, I say elite, and I don't want to say that in the wrong way where people think that, I'm saying that it's elite and snobby, but it is a very elite community. It's people that are very dedicated to their animals, very dedicated to their craft. It's an expensive craft, right? Like, I mean, not everybody can be in riding, in showmanship, in dressage, in, rodeo, it's very much that. And so usually you do have a family name behind you, a legacy of grandparents and parents that have rode and ranches and things like that. So to come in and just be like the small fry and be like, hey guys, hi, I'm here and I'm ready to go and teach me all right? So I think that's really cool. That's a very neat kind of side of things. And so then when you joined with Calgary Police, so how did that look? Like you put your resume in, they called you, you interviewed. Was there again, a riding demo you had to do? Did you have to kind of audition into that role and prove your abilities?
Oh, that's a great question. It makes me laugh because so at the time when I was hired, and I really hope I'm not throwing CPS under the bus right now, because they did the right thing, The mounted unit they left. Okay, so the member that was running the mounted unit for a very long time, he retired, which respect out to him. He deserves to be retired.
Yeah.
And what has happened was they didn't have a succession plan. So they didn't have the next leader, which, a few years down the road with that, training plans were weakening and the scheduling was weakening. Like no one was leading the team. So the horses were being selected by people who didn't per se have the right amount of experience to be selecting them or training them. So the herd strength was weakening, and the whole program was starting to feel the effect of the leader leaving. So what happened was CPS hired a temporary sergeant. There's still not an authorized sergeant in the unit, which is very interesting, but that's fine because now it's my job and I love it. So, but anyways, we'll get back down to that later. So they put a sergeant in just to his job was to fix the unit, basically, make it better, do what you have to do. And what he did is he hired me. He's like, I need to hire someone, civilian, that is, subject matter expert who knows horses and knows what we need to do to change and how to make it better. So that's why the job opened up. And then, so just to answer your question, I'm sitting in my interview with the panel, which was, and it's a staff sergeant, the sergeant they put in there, and an HR rep. And none of them knew anything to do with horses at all. And they're trying to ask me questions to see my responses. And I had to stop them and I tell them, this isn't even a question you can ask me. Like things like, how long would it take to train a person to ride a horse? And I'm like, there's no standard on that. Like,
Yeah.
it really depends on the person. And, you know, like certain questions just didn't make sense. And I think the fact that I told them that, I think they felt like I could help them
Totally.
because and a lot of the questions were about horse training. And I even asked them, because at the time it wasn't really necessarily looking for a horse trainer. They were looking for an animal care coordinator, which was someone to help with their breeding program that they had at the time. And, you know, assist with horse care and maintenance, like a stable manager was what it really sounded like. So then I asked them, like, are you looking for a horse trainer or a stable manager? And they didn't even know how to answer that question. So I think they really realized that, holy Dinah, we actually are in a bit of a pickle. We really do need someone who could do it all. And my resume said that. And I had that experience. So in truly honest belief, I believe that I was hired for this job because I was the best person for the job. And yeah, and then this here I am today. So
it is true. I like what you speak to about succession planning. And I feel like there are so many agencies out there that are feeling the effects exactly like you said, because we're kind of hitting that wave of like a lot of our very experienced people are retiring and they are taking with them 40 years of knowledge on exactly what they should do, what you shouldn't do, how you should do it, right? And it's specific to their own agencies. But when those people leave and there's nothing that's been done for succession planning, because it's kind of been like, oh, so-and-so will never leave. We got them. They're never going to go. And then they're like, actually, they're already dreaming about margaritas and yachts and see you later. Like, I'm going to Mexico. And then they leave and we're all like, oh my God, what do we do? Right. So I think, yeah, you're probably completely correct in that in that interview were just basically they realized as they're interviewing you, like, this is the girl. We need her because she's already asking these good questions that we haven't thought of. And clearly she knows more than we do. So therefore, let's bring her on, which is incredible. And so then what did that look like? Like, 'cause then now you're coming into a unit, you kind of have like a little bit of, I guess, leeway or flexibility to kind of create the program that you want it to be because you are the subject matter experts. You are coming in with like, why are we doing that? Why are we not doing this? So did you have that kind of flexibility and that creativity and that, I guess, leash to run with?
yes. The day I started this job, they were asking me, what do we do? Like, what's the first? Well, I mean, the sergeant at the time, he did give me focuses, priorities, right? Priorities was to assess the herd first. Like, let's see where these horses are at. Are they mounted patrol horses or are they not? So that was the main focus I had. The other focus was also assess the breeding program. And honestly, that's where a lot of money goes into a program. That's not always a guarantee. And I was confident. I'm like, we can buy the horses ready to go. Like they're not operationally ready. Like they're going to need to be trained for patrol, but at least they're not babies where we're raising them first and then we put in the training and then, right? So that saved time and money right there. So we can the breeding program. And also, I'm not a breed specific selection, like supporter of mounted patrol needs to be a breed specific because, I mean, if you want a specific breed, let's say I want a Clydesdale, right? And then that's the way to go. And there's only so many Clydesdale out of 100 horses. You only have maybe 6 Clydesdales to choose from. And then now you're like, well, I want a gelding. Well, then maybe now you only have 3 horses to choose from. And then you're like, okay, but I need him to be a certain height and or whatever. And then all these little details that you want. And then it's like, well, did you consider his temperament yet? Or have you considered his structure? Like, is he fit for the job? And by all that, you've got nothing. So it really, it's not a breed specific thing. And a lot of people ask us, well, what breed do you use? And it's like, well, any breed that's capable of doing the job. And I look at temperament first and bodies and as a secondary, right? Like I really want to make sure that their mind is comfortable with the job, and I need to know that their body is comfortable with the job. And then I can pick apart the color and the breed and all the other details, right? So that was definitely my first job, was to assess those horses and what are the better horses to be buying instead of breeding.
And so how many horses did you have? Because you said, I don't know if we said it well before we started recording or not, but 7 horses right now. How many horses did you have back then? Was it like a bigger pool, or was it as 7 kind of like, that's what we have, that's our mounted patrol unit?
So our stable facility can house up to 8 quite comfortably. So at the time they did have 8 here when I was hired. And we washed a few. We retired too. It's just because they're tapped out. It's time for them to go roll around without shoes on and enjoy their pastures and a new career like arena riding. And they went back to homes, their retirement homes, and they thrived in a new discipline, you know. So that was the betterment for them. And then that left me with 6 others that some were just too scared to do the job, and some, you know, just their mind-wise just wasn't fit for duty. They had PTSD from No, some of them, their minds just weren't capable of handling the stimuli that they would endure in an urban setting. Like the city is so busy with lights and sounds and visuals and unexpected, you know, blowing bags in the wind and all sorts of children running up excited to see them. Like, and you think that all those horses are capable of doing that. Our horses today are capable of doing all that because we selected them because they're interested in that stuff. But a lot of the horses at the time, they weren't mentally interested or prepared to deal with all that stimuli. So the betterment of them was to resuit them in a discipline that they could find their purpose in. And it wasn't mounted patrol, unfortunately. We did reserve a couple. PSH Ranger and PSH Kelsey, they did stay in the program. And I mean, they weren't the strongest horses, but they definitely were still operationally valuable for sure.
That is so interesting to me. I like it because you speak like they're humans, right? Like you know, they weren't mentally like, but it's true because this job is all about unexpected. It's all about, you know, you never know what's going to come running up to you. Is it going to be a kid that's excited to see you? Is it going to be, you know, somebody that wants to rip your face off and they're pissed off? Is it somebody that needs your help? Like, you never know. And so to hear you speak of them, like, you know, physically and mentally, they need to be prepared for these roles, just like officers are. We have to be physically and mentally prepared for these roles, which is why we go into training, right? It's not like you can just pick somebody off the street, put a uniform on them and say, off you go, thrive, do well, right? You have to train them. So it's very cool that that's similar to that. And so then from that kind of, you know, beginnings, you've obviously built this program into what it is now. And so can you break down for us, just because again, I know a little bit about mounted patrol, not a ton. Like, what are we using this unit for? I know obviously there's definitely like Calgary Stampede, big thing for you guys, probably a huge thing for the mounted patrol unit, but what are the other things that you're using these horses for?
Yeah, I love answering this question because I find that this question comes up a lot. A lot of people don't know. It just boggles their mind. But it's incredible what they can do. So our unit in Calgary, we have 4 operational portfolios. We don't just, you know, primarily do ceremonial or whatever. We open up that toolbox, and these are the tools that we provide. And the number one tool that we is frontline patrol. So we are a highly visible frontline patrol resource. And I mean, like, it's hard to measure prevention, right? Crime prevention, because you don't get real stats on that per se. But police presence is definitely something that is part of our use of force continuum, where just presence alone is the very first level. If you can have police presence in a high crime area, you're going to reduce crime. So that is the number one mission that we have, and that's our day-to-day. So how it works is, let's say District 1 says that they're having a lot of complaints in a specific location in this neighborhood, and they require more police presence. That's the mounted patrol job right there. You bring us in there, and our truck and our trailer rig alone is 30 feet of police markings, right? So when we park that truck and trailer in that neighborhood, everybody knows the police are in the area. The next thing we are is we're horses in an urban setting, and for people that blows their mind. Like, the amount of make our days that we do for the public and the community, I can't even count. Like, we have started counting. This year alone, we've counted all the contacts of community engagement that we experience when we're out. And before, like, we never did this, but only a mounted officer actually knows how much impact we make on that community with the one-on-one interactions that we have. And so we count how many waves, how many, can I take your pictures? Can I pet the horse? What are you guys doing here? All the questions we get. On top of all the people we deal with, or, all the calls that we take, all of the contacts are added up. And by the end of our shift, on average, our contacts are around 250, 350 people, just an average.
Whoa.
In July alone, over Stampede, like in the full month, I do month ends, right? But the full month of July was over 25,000 contacts. So, like I said, nobody knows that unless we're the ones counting these contacts. We have a contact counter. We actually push the button,
Yeah.
And I mean, typically you don't just get one person. You're going to have, like, you stop outside and you're dealing maybe with you're assisting a traffic accident or something, or you're dealing with a call, right? People in their businesses are just going to come out, want to take pictures and talk, and, like, they want to be engaged. So it's effortless for us. You just bring a horse there and it's happening, and people know the police are in the area. So that's our first portfolio and our main one. Another portfolio we offer is search. So search management teams can use us for hasty searches where they need a large area clearing. We have covered 14 kilometers in 2 hours in a giant field where there's, like, trees and bushes and lumps and humps and stuff, but they're looking for some evidence or something that this person has been through this area. And with just 4 horses, we can cover that so fast. And so it's probably something not a lot of people think of, but we cover ground and we're high up. So we can see far and wide. Like, we can have 30 feet away from each other. We don't have to be side by side. So yeah, we're really, really beneficial for search. Even for mutual aid, Kananaskis, we really help with that a lot. Well, when those searches come in, but when they do, we're very, very valuable to those operations. Another portfolio we do is we assist with the public safety unit. So Alberta seems to be quite comfortable most of the time. We don't have as many presentations, demonstrations downtown as some other provinces across Canada. But when we do, we are fully trained and ready to help keep the peace and create, just officer awareness, like everyone knows that the police are present and that we're here to make sure that the social disorder doesn't get out of hand and keep everyone safe. So typically when people see horses show up to those things, they know that, okay, aggression is not going to be favored. Violence is not going to be the better answer here. So we also help enforce peace in a situation like that as well. And so crowd management, whether it's happy crowds or, getting to be volatile crowds, we're trained and ready to assist with our public safety unit with that. And then our other portfolio, it's a very important portfolio. It is ceremonial. We do assist with, just support with Remembrance Day, any, on duty deaths and funerals. If that was to happen, we offer the family for us to be there for support. Police and peace officers memorial events. We come to Edmonton every year to support that memorial event. So there are certain times in the year where it's a ceremonial presence is requested from our regimental sergeant major, and we do attend those as well.
Very, very interesting. Because I didn't even think about search and rescue at all. And now that you're saying it, I'm like, of course. Why would you not utilize these animals that are perfect for it? Perfect. And then, the officer presence it's massive. And we always say, on the use of force model, what's the first thing? It's officer presence, right? It's going to have that deterrent effect. People are going to realize that you're there. And again, a dog, yes. A horse, holy shit, there's a horse. Mom, there's a horse. Right?
It's like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exactly like what it is.
If nobody knew that the police were in the neighborhood, they're going to know real fast. So I think that's incredible. And so when obviously selection for officers into this mounted patrol unit, I'm assuming there's, the application process and things like that. But do you try and marry up the horse with the member and their personalities matching and them gelling really well? Or is there kind of something where you just are this is your horse today and this is your horse tomorrow?
Yeah. So if you know the horse industry, or anybody who does know the horse industry, they know that marrying a green rider on a green horse is not a very good way of matching. So you definitely match your experienced horse with a green rider. And then vice versa, you can have a green horse with an experienced rider. So how it typically works is we do have assignments in the unit, and it is fitted to the most appropriate match based on liability and safety for both horse and rider and public. But when it comes to being part of the unit, we have a ladder to climb to get into the unit full time. It's you start off as we call them quarries, where you volunteer, and that's when I get to have those crucial conversations about what you were saying earlier about this is hard work and this is all weather. Because you don't need to have horse experience to apply in the mounted unit. We're an equal opportunity specialty. So because of that, it just helps filter things out based on members' choice, or even just me letting them know, man, you've got a lot of work ahead of you. And some people are open to that. Some people are sponges and they just want to soak it all in. And some people don't really want to work that hard or learn a brand new skill. And that's to each their own, right? So this quarry program is a volunteer basis, whether on shift or off shift. I mean, it's literally free riding lessons, but they get to come and work with our horses and see the stable management, see what we do in a day, all the chores, how we do, how physical it is, because it's very physical. We're actually one of the highest ranked physical units in the whole entire service. And a lot of people don't think about stuff like that. They just think you jump on that horse, you push a button, and then you just sit there. It's no, there's so much work to get involved with, just tending to them and doing the chores, and actually riding for 5 hours in a day is a lot of work, physical work. So definitely that program is like a fight or flight, whether you want it or you don't. So onward from that course qualifies you to, or that program, it is a course, it's a quarry course, and then the program qualifies you to apply for the part-time program. So we have part-time members who take our 6-week basic training, and that's officer horseback tactics and equitation and horsemanship. And so that takes 6 weeks to get them to just a basic level. And then once they've certified through that course, then they're authorized as a part-time member, and they can deploy on horseback and ride with our full-time members as a partnership to do all operations. That's actually an excellent supplemental strength program that we have, because we need it, because we have these animals and we would like to build and be bigger and expand. But I mean, with, you know, how services are right now with bodies and retaining retention, we supplement our strength with the part-time program. So those members are then part-timers for however many years until a full-time spot opens up. And then when the full-time spot opens up, then the part-time folks can apply for the full-time spot. So by the time they are full-time, they've got quite a bit of training under their belt that I could typically put them on any horse out there, minus the ones in training. But as a part-time member, when you first start, I mean, you are in a lesson program for 6 weeks. So you really get to know that horse under a training model. And then you deploy, and sometimes I switch them around. Like some horses are better as lesson horses than the patrol. They're a little more sensitive or something. So I might switch it. And sometimes, yeah, you just discover that a member would probably be more suited to this other horse instead. And I always take their input, you know, because if they already have a general connection with one of the horses and they really like him, they're going to really try harder to do better for him. So like, you know, if they really like the one guy, well, then let's see if it works out. And we work towards making that relationship flourish.
That's cool. Yeah, that's cool. This might be a totally stupid question, but are all the horses boys? Or
yeah,
both? They're all boys.
Oh, yeah, they are. They're all geldings. So
okay.
They're boys without all the hormones. So that's nice. That's very steady. Very consistent.
Is there a reason? Like, is there a reason it's all geldings and no mares?
Yes. Yeah. It just co-ed, you know, situations tend to be a little more dramatic.
Yeah.
And I mean, I adore mares a lot, but because we also do have a lot of very, very inexperienced people coming around here, horse politics are a little bit harder to read when you're new to the industry. So technically, if you have, you know, complacent geldings, it's a little easier. Like it gives you a little bit more time and space to develop that. But if you have a moody mare, it it can kind of be a little more intimidating.
Yeah, I like I said, I find it fascinating. One of the reasons I wanted to become an RCMP officer when I was a little kid, because that was my dream, was RCMP, was because I saw the mounted unit, right? Like I saw the musical ride, and I was like, one day I'm going to be on that horse and I'm going to be out there and I'm going to do it. And so I recently in June, my daughter, she's in grade 6, and we did a trip out to Quebec with her school, and we got to go to the musical ride, like headquarters, the barn, and see all the horses and see them practicing for the musical ride. And I was like in tears. I was like, a dream has come true. I am here. I am watching this. Like it was so cool. And like their barn is massive because they have like so many horses, but it was very cool to like, same thing, kind of hear like, no, we don't pick a certain breed. We pick it based on their temperament. We pick it based on their, you know, like, can they stay in tune? Can they stay, you know, like how are they with all these other horses? Because they're always going to be with all of these other horses. And so, yeah, it was really interesting to kind of like learn that side of things. And so the other question I have, because you mentioned it, is like horse tactical training. So like what, I mean, like obviously, because I in my head, very naively, I am picturing like we have horses and we're going to be having loud noises going off and we're going to be having like startling things and basically like conditioning them to not panic and react and rear and do all that stuff. But like, am I way fucking off?
No. But it's fast. So through the 10 years, so I didn't learn any of this stuff. This is all police experience now. I like to think mounted patrol is its own discipline. Just like jumping is a discipline, or cutting and reining, and they're all their own discipline for that specific horse. Mounted patrol is no different. So it's like, okay, well, what do we need to train to make this horse mounted patrol, finished, like a finished mounted patrol horse? And I did really at the time break it all down into like different little categories, and it just seemed to be very overwhelming, like blowing bags and, stimuli this and that, and the horns and the bagpipes and all the things that they're going to see. If you pick apart everything they're going to see, you're going to be training for a really long time. So what I found is what I've discovered is I actually have developed, I mean, I'm sure it's out there in the industry. I'm not the first one to think this up, but I have my own theory on nuisance. We call it nuisance training, desensitization, exposure training. I also call it exposure training, to get the horse to be comfortable and accept the stimuli. So if you think of a horse as a fight or flight animal, their response, because they're prey animals, they're not predators, their response is to defend themselves or to create space, like create distance, right? So considering that, and then also considering what is the most thing valuable to them, which is their feet, because their feet is that fight or flight. They can defend themselves with their feet, they can run away with their feet. So their feet are the most precious. And I found that the most difficult thing for horses is to ask them to walk on things, because they don't want to. They don't want to walk on a dark mat. They don't want to walk on a sleeping bag. They don't want to walk on people even, because it's taking their survival like weapon away from them, right? Or putting it in a vulnerable position. So that was my first thing that I really discovered, was what they really need to be comfortable and okay with just putting their feet on stuff. Like whether you're going from a grassy area to a sidewalk, like that footing changes, and they need to be okay with doing that kind of stuff. So that's part of my selection process, is getting them to walk on tarps or getting them to walk on something and see how iffy they are about that. If they're willing to do it, well, then that's going to be great. You just build on that. If they're really refusal about it, I don't even select that horse. So it's not like I have to force any training. They're already interested in it. And then I just build on that interest, and I challenge them in increments. And I'm telling you, when a horse wants, like, he's curious, he's a curious type, and he has the interest in those challenges, because they do, and he's successful with it, he's proud. Like, he's like, yeah, I got this. Like, there is a term, war horse. It's true. Like, there are horses that actually like to be challenged in a way and go through it and are like, yeah, I did that. So first of all, that's my horses that I'm picking. Then I have to think about audio sensory and visual sensory. Those are the two sensories I find are the most unpredictable. So like audio being like air brakes off of a bus, or the C train going down the track and making like that tink tink sound, or a skateboard going on a sidewalk making the same sound, or protests and people are chanting or getting angry, or horns or air horns and all of the things. Now, that's a really, really high level of audio stim. So you just start with low level audio and then you build again, right? And so you just read how he handles things throughout training, and you adjust so that he learns that it's not threatening. He's not going to be, his prey instinct doesn't have to be activated, and he just accepts it, and he's fine. And he is, and he actually really likes to do his job. Same with the visuals, right? So whether things is it static, like a picnic table, or is it dynamic, like a bag blowing around in the wind? So like those are two different. So instead of being like, picnic tables and garbage cans and this, and we're going to train and expose them to everything, we're just going to break it down and be like, well, it's a static object. So that's a dynamic object. And then you just kind of like introduce him to those, whatever they are. They can be anything. And it's not about, for and this is for the horse people at home listening to this that do cowboy challenge. Here's a tip. Okay. It's not about him knowing what that object is. It doesn't matter because it could be anything. And you're never going to get him to be okay with this object because the next time you come to the next dynamic object, it's going to be the same thing. And it also applies to the proximity. Is it in front of him? Is it behind him? Is it on the side of him? Is it above him? Like, right? So those play more of an important role. So proximity, what is it doing, the object, and is he listening to the handler? That is the goal. He needs to, no matter what, that horse needs to be listening to the person who's on him or on the ground, right? More than whatever stimuli his attention is being brought to, right? So you train based on proximity, distance, like is it 30 feet away? Is it 20 feet away? Is it 3 feet away? Is his feet on it? Like, and you start at the very edges of those things, and then you bring it in and you build. And then by the time it's all done, he'll walk on anything. He'll look at anything. He'll hear anything. You can shoot a gun off of him. You can do all of these things, but it's just how you build that foundation in the beginning using those theories. And then no matter what object or audio or visual it is, he'll be okay with it.
So we talked about kind of some of the stimulations and some of the things that you do for training. And now I want to get into like the actual, we are on patrol, we see something and we're like, holy shit, now we need to arrest this person, or now we need to chase this person down, or now we need to do this. So how does that all work?
So we are primarily outside. So we're typically like the beats and the bikes. Like if you could, for those who already know a lot more about those jobs and the way they take calls, we do the same thing. So we self-generate our calls. And if we hear something on the radio that comes up and we're within a couple blocks, we totally take that call. A lot of them are like suspicious people, searching for like a suspect, a disturbance, weapons calls. We take pretty much anything, but a lot of those types of calls do primarily happen outside and the person's running around. You have to look for them. So we do cover distance quite effectively. And when we do locate them, we challenge just the same as any officer would. We can foot chase, but we're on horseback. Typically, people comply instantly. Like the moment they see a horse coming towards them and an officer's challenging from on top of that horse's back, they don't muck around. Like they comply. And they're very cooperative. It's been quite rare that we've had to deal with non-compliance. If that was the case, we do a lot of our subject control tactics on the horse because we don't want to dismount and then have to have all that time in between. Sometimes you don't have time to deal with that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. But because we're a higher platform and we have an advantage of that leverage of being higher up, it's easy to grab, their collar or their jackets or get hands on that way. And like I said, it rarely ever gets to that point because they're terrified, quite nervous about what this horse could potentially do as a use of force tool. So, and I do feel there's a huge bridge with people loving animals, they just don't want to hurt the horse. So they don't want to argue with the horse. So they just don't. Mm-hmm. But yes, we do everything the same as any other officer would have to for their arrest procedure. We get our information, we detain and arrest, we get down and we search them. And sometimes we have to tie our horse to a tree. Or we always patrol in partnerships. So the one partner can hold two horses while the other deals with the situation. We can't transport, obviously, our prisoners to the jail. So
we talk about tie them up, toss them over the back, off we go.
Yeah, that's definitely a hurdle that we face. So a lot of times, every time we need to, unless they're right next to our vehicle, which typically we're a few kilometers away from our vehicle, right? Because we can transport in our own truck, but it's a lot quicker to ask a patrol member in a vehicle to transport for us, we always try and take the paperwork, but a lot of patrol take the paperwork from us because they think that it's the coolest thing they've ever seen. But like I said, we don't want to put more work on them, and we're happy to take that and report it ourselves. But yeah, that's how we do our business.
It is so, like I said, coming from the jail side of things, I used to always laugh because you get some guy that would come in and he's been bitten to shit by the dog, like bitten to shit. And we would always say, like, what in your freaking mind made you think that you could outrun the dog or hide? Like, you are that dumb? Okay. And so it's so funny to me that like people do not run from the horse, because the same thing. I'm like, yeah, why would you run? You're going to get ran over. Like, the horse is so much faster than you, just like the dog is so much faster than you. But I love that, like, a horse, people are like, no, thank you. The dog, they're like, I got this. I can outrun this guy. No, you can't. Right. And I've never, in all of my history of working at the jail, I've unfortunately never had anybody come in that had been arrested by a mounted unit, but I would have loved to have read that paperwork. I would have loved to have read that freaking paperwork, because that would have been prime. Like, oh, you got arrested by a horse. That's what happened to you. You got arrested by a horse. Okay, good for you. This is the most fascinating conversation that I think I have ever had. I am just like blown away with all of this freaking information. Like, it's so freaking cool to me, like all the work that goes. And I mean, like, again, like, duh, I should know this, because you see how well trained they are. You see how they don't react to things. You see how they just like sit there so good, so like well behaved, just sitting there so peaceful and sweet. And you just want to smooch their little faces off. And knowing that they are like war horses, like they have been trained, they can withstand whatever is thrown at them. And I just, yeah, it is so rad. It is so fascinating to me. So I just want to say, I like, thank you for doing this job, because very clearly in this conversation, your expertise, your knowledge, your, again, passion for these horses and for this job is shining through, like, to know, like, it's crazy. I can feel it coming through, like, in this podcast. And thank you for the work that you do, because you did build this program, and you have done all this amazing work and created such a strong foundation for this program, and hopefully for expanding and, you know, funding dollars and all that stuff that comes with when we want to do cool things within our jobs. But thank you for that. So yeah, kudos to you. It leads me right into awards winner, Civilian of the Year 2025 through AWIPS. And so what was that like to get that award? Like, how did that, you know, come to be?
So my supervisor, he's now Inspector JF Derry. He nominated me. I didn't know he nominated me, but I've worked with him for the past 10 years. He was a sergeant for the mounted unit, I guess. He's a tactical sergeant, but he took mounted under his wing just for a period of time. And he was my boss then, and then he got promoted and was a staff sergeant, came back to the sports section. And then again, now that I'm the supervisor, team lead for the mounted unit, and now he's my direct supervisor being a staff sergeant, because I equal the sergeant rank now. And then he now is an inspector. Hopefully one day he might come back to support as the inspector, would be nice. But he knows all of this work that I've been doing the past 10 years. Like, he's witnessed it. I mean, this award came mostly from 2025, but he really felt like it was a little past due. So he nominated me. It had a lot to do with the preparation and support for the public safety unit with G7. We also have our constables manage those operational portfolios because they're sworn. And we did have a constable who was also managing that G7 portfolio with me as an oversight to support things. But anyways, it wasn't just all me. That's the whole point I'm trying to say. It wasn't just all me, but I think just like the impact of public safety, civilian role in public safety, I'm kind of an anomaly. I'd hate to say it, but like, there's not a lot of civilians in the operational capacity that I'm in. Like, I patrol with them. Like, I go out. I don't have any use force tools. I have my horse, which is a use the force option if you need it to be, and he creates distance very, very easily for me. So basically, as an operational civilian, there I can't really think of any other civilian, to be honest, that does as much operational decision making that I do. So I'm very honored. I really feel like I was recognized for this work. I mean, for me, it's all passion, right? I love this role. I love my job. I love helping people learn and develop. I'm the instructor for the equestrian side, and I'm also the instructor to aid with use of force tactics and stuff. So I just love being able to be a part of that. And then adding like my passion with horses just makes it really steadfast, right? So I mean, I just, as much as I love it, it's effortless for me, but I'm humbled to see that it is impacting the service, and it is impacting the community, and how it is deserving, and I feel well deserved for the award, because we've really changed a lot of this unit, and we've changed the support section. Like, we're now adding frontline support, and to know that it's coming from the mounted unit, which didn't really have a whole lot of value for that prior, it's extremely proud. Like, I feel very proud that for my contributions to making that level of impact, for sure.
Completely well deserving. And you're humble as shit too. So like, you're checking all the boxes over here, Robin. You're checking all the boxes. Okay, well, I've taken a lot of your time and you are extremely busy. And so I'm very grateful, very, very grateful that you took the time to be on the podcast and share the coolest job in the whole world, guys. Like, again, if there are any listeners out there, if there is a little girl out there who's listening to this podcast and who loves horses and is like, I want to do this job, like, you can do it. Like, Robin is your inspiration. You can do this job. You can get out there. You can make a difference. You can make that impact too. So if it's something you're dreaming of, like, guys, go for it. Go for it. Go for it. But I want to wrap up, and I always wrap up with rapid fire questions. And I think you're going to have some really, really cool answers. So I'm very excited about these. My first question is, what is your favorite food or snack while you are at work?
Okay. I definitely eat protein. I think protein is probably my favorite food or snack, just because I need that energy to keep going in a day.
Is there a specific protein? Like, are we hitting like protein bars or shakes or?
Both. So my husband and I are both hunters. So we actually have a lot of our own lean meat selection at home that I, turn into pepperoni and such like that. But yes, protein shakes is always very good. I would probably even take the protein bar just because it gives you a little bit of a dessert treat there too.
Yeah. Well, and when you said like being on the horse for 5 hours a day, like, again, it didn't even like register to me that would be on the regular, like 5 hours a day you're on that horse. And like, so you also need something that is portable, that can fit in your cargo pockets. And those are protein bars and jerky and pepperonis. Yes. Love it. Love it. Okay. Number 2 is, what is your favorite, I guess, piece of equipment or tool or trick that you would use to train horses?
I think my favorite is firearms exposure, and mostly because I'm a bit of a marksman myself, so I enjoy shooting, and I really like to watch how well the horses develop with it. The past 3 years, I discovered the better way to introduce that level of audio stimuli to them, and then getting to be sitting on them and pulling the trigger. I think it's just, I love it right now because it fills me with so much pride that I've kind of figured it out. Like, unlocked the secret. So I would want to say that training them to that exposure is my favorite, because it's always a win.
That's cool. And so were you always into firearms, like before you started even within the policing side of things? Was that like something you were always interested in?
No, not at all. It was extreme culture shock when I first came here to see the level of, different firearms that members use. I'd never even held a gun before in my life. So it was definitely a whole new skill and culture to adapt to, for sure.
And have you ever been bucked off a horse when you were pulling the trigger?
No, no.
Well, that's good. That's a win.
No. Usually I've done something a lot stupider than that.
Okay, then I'm going to skip right to that question, because my next one was going to be, give me a piece of advice for someone wanting to get into the career. But now I want to hear a funny story about you getting bucked off a horse. What do you got for me?
I don't know if any of them are funny.
That'd be funny to us. They weren't funny to you when you were falling off the horse.
Advice. This is some really good advice. And you could picture it in your head. It could be funny, but you never let a horse choose how fast he wants to go. You always make sure that you're captain of the starship the entire time. And if he doesn't get asked to trot, he's not trotting. If he doesn't get asked to lope, he's not loping. You pick that speed, because if you allow him to pick whatever he wants to do with his feet, he's allowed to buck just as hard. So
I love that. That is a great piece of advice, because it's totally true. Like, yes, you have to be in control of your Starship Enterprise. Otherwise, you're going for a ride. Well, I mean, Robin, this has been such a great conversation, such a great, like I said, the information and the work that you do, it's so freaking cool. So if anybody out there is interested in that, like, again, I'll be throwing up some information in the show notes. If it's something you are dreaming of and you're a little kid and you want to go do it, the options are there, the education is out there, and the opportunities are there. So go for it, run for it. Do you have any last words for our listeners?
yeah, I like that. I follow your passion. Like, even if you didn't think that you would ever achieve your goal, like if you picture yourself doing something that you didn't ever or don't believe that you would ever achieve, you're wrong. Because if you do go after it, it does take some work. You do have to stay focused, but no matter the goal, you will achieve it.
Love that piece of advice. I love that. That is, yep. It's exactly right. It's going to take work. It's not all magically going to fall into your lap like, sunshine and rainbows. There's going to take some work, but if you really truly love it, go for it, run for it, work for it, and it can be yours. So yes, love it. Thank you, Robin. I massively appreciate you being on the show. I hope you have an awesome rest of your day.
Thanks, Nikki. Appreciate it.
Well, that's it for today, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in, listening, giving me your time, your energy, and your attention. I completely appreciate it. Make sure you check out our next episode with another badass female first responder anywhere you get your favorite podcasts. And follow us on Instagram and Facebook at bluelinefitnesstesting.com. I hope you stay safe, keep your head on a swivel, and watch your six. Blue Line Fitness Testing is a premier law enforcement fitness testing and training center based in Edmonton. Specializing in helping individuals prepare for the physical demands of a career in law enforcement, we offer comprehensive fitness evaluations, specialized training programs, and classes tailored to meet the unique needs of our clients. Our facility hosts a range of classes and are committed to fostering a supportive and empowering environment where clients can achieve their fitness goals. Our team includes experienced trainers who bring specialized expertise in law enforcement, self-defense, personal training, and rehabilitation. We engage through our community through challenges, events, and our podcast, and we are dedicated to helping individuals succeed in their fitness journeys and career aspirations in law enforcement. Are you looking to get started with your career? Come see Blue Line Fitness Testing, and we'll get you there.